Well, good morning, welcome back. Now today, the final job on the little list of 5 things that I was asked to do on this wonderful Electra Glide Ultra Limited. The first was the rear wheel bearing, absolutely dire, properly hanging out the back end, and I imagine it handled a bit weird anyway. So that's done, all fixed. Thanks for your wonderful support on that video. You absolutely loved it, and I really enjoyed doing it as well. The second job was the brake pads, and the third was the oil and filter change. And of course, the Figurati magnetic dipstick, a great upgrade to the bike, and I'll be putting one in the Softail. I think it's a fantastic idea. Why don't Harley do that sort of thing in the first place? Anyway, the final job on the list of 5 things is the front brake pads, so the bike's got good brakes all round and it's ready for the rest of the season. Now, one great feature about these touring model M8 Harley Davidsons, and that's the Road Glide, the Street Glide, the Ultra and the Road King, they all have the same brake calipers, not just as each other but also the same front and rear. So the rear calipers that we changed the pads in the other day, these are exactly the same with one tiny difference. Now these are the same calipers as the rear, but this obviously isn't on the rear. That's the main difference. It's just a little dress cover, purely for looks, doesn't serve any mechanical purpose at all. And to remove it, you just get a little screwdriver in the top and press downwards on a little tang, and there it is. It just lifts out like that. Now, as you can probably see, that is exactly the same caliper as the rear. You've got the 3 main caliper body bolts. You don't touch those at any time, leave them alone. That single bolt there is the pin that holds the pads in, and that pin is retained partially by a little spring clip just there. And we remove that by putting a little screwdriver underneath it and just lift it out like that. Now, as with the rear, whilst the caliper is still bolted to the fork leg, that holds it still like a jig, so we'll crack this pin bolt while it's held nice and still. Just crack it. Now, a quarter turn, that's all it needs, and we can take the caliper off. Right, we're going to be taking the caliper off and moving this around. As you can see here, you've got a big old bunch of wires there. You've got the hose itself, the brake line, you've got this ABS lead that's quite fragile, and in behind there you've got a second piece of wiring that goes into the mudguard and feeds the power to the front light on the front of the fender. So whilst all that's off, you don't want to be pulling on these electrical wires, so just nip the cables, ties off, out the way, to allow the wiring to not be stressed by pulling around and mauling around on the brake cable. There, set them free so they're safe. Right, now this little plastic clip, just pop it off the back, push it inwards, and that releases this wire from the metal clamp that you're going to remove. And again, it takes any weight off this when you're pulling other stuff around, allows it to be safe. Just leave that there. Right, these 2 bolts here hold the caliper onto the fork leg, and they just need to be completely removed. And they might look a bit weird, like a spline shape. They're not an Allen bolt like the rear caliper. These just need a 12-sided 10mm metric socket. It goes straight on and it undoes them every time. And before you take that second and final bolt out, just support the caliper, because if it does drop free, smack against your fender and chip your paint. Little twist one way, then the other, pushes the pads back just enough till it slips off carefully. My word, they are out. Now, as with the other caliper on the rear, these 2 pads come out this way, out the back of the caliper. So first of all, take the pin out. There it is. I have to clean that one up. Right, support your caliper so it doesn't dangle on its brake hose. Right, same as before, bit of housekeeping. Clean out the inside of the caliper before you push the pistons back and then end up ramming the dirt into the seal and causing problems. Just brake cleaner, wet them all up inside, and then toothbrush them out, get all the crap out of them. Now take your reservoir cap off, as we said in the last video, just to make sure that it doesn't overflow when you push the pistons back. Right, we'll soak some of that out just temporarily to give it pushback room. I'll spread her back in there and just open them enough to get the new pads in, which will be thicker. Whilst watching that your brake fluid doesn't overflow in the reservoir as it pushes back upwards. That's it, that's them all the way back. Now we've got lots of room for the fresh new pads. Refitting is the reverse of removal, so take the tail in first and then pop them up into place like that. There, hold them in place, turn the caliper there on its side and drop the pin through and just snap it in like that, then it will screw in. But before we screw it in, we'll put a tiny bit of anti-seize on the thread. Just enough to coat the thread, not too much. Tip it up, and don't forget the little retaining clip that just goes in on that outside edge and snaps around the pin. All ready to go. Just pump those new pads out to the disc to drop the fluid so we can do the other side and push them back as well. There we are. In the top, press down on the spring and lift it out. Carefully. Lift the clip out. There. Just crack the tension on the pin. 10mm, 12-sided socket. Drop the caliper off. Just as bad. If we look in there, that's the Brembo logo. So these calipers are made by Brembo, which is why all the fasteners on them are metric. Pull it out together. Pull them out. Same with the others. snap in place. Right, there we are, all done. Now, obviously with any brake pads, give them some time to bed in. Don't expect them to work as well as the old ones immediately. That first couple of applications will be a bit vague, but it will literally be 10 or 15 miles. Modern brake pads will bed in nicely and they'll perform just fine. Right, so there we are, not a project, just 5 little jobs on this beautiful Electra Glide Touring. And I hope these videos have helped you if you've got a touring bike, maybe something that you might want to do on your bike as well, all in the playlist. Thanks for watching, take it easy, ride safe. And I'll see you next time.